Right now we're at the beautiful Cafe GM space with SpaceCoin. And in this environment, we want to dive deeper into the backstory. We know that you've been dedicating your life in microfinancing and making financial options more available to the underprivileged. And how did you pivot from that into SpaceCoin journey?
So my journey from CreditCoin and SpaceCoin isn't essentially a pivot. It's actually an expansion of what we were already doing with CreditCoin. So with CreditCoin, we were on a mission to bank the unbanked, financing the underprivileged and emerging market. Many of them in the emerging market are also unconnected. So they have no internet connectivity whatsoever. So if you're offline, there's no way for us to serve you. And that is why we started to looking into technologies that will be able to serve these unconnected population. And that happened to be satellite technology. And that's why we ended up doing SpaceCoin.
Amazing. And for people who heard about SpaceCoin for the first time, and is there any elevator pitch that you can do to the audience here?
SpaceCoin is essentially a decentralized version of Starlink, if I may. And by decentralizing the telecommunication infrastructure, which has never been done before, we can ultimately achieve permissionless connectivity, or you can think of it as an extreme net neutrality. Due to the centralization, there's always a person that you can twist their arm behind and block other people from the network, for example. By decentralizing infrastructure, there's no single person who can decide to allow you to get connected to the network or not, meaning that anyone can get connected and to each other and nobody can dictate who gets to connect to whom this network. This has never been achieved before, and by the revolution of the space industry and the blockchain industry, we can finally achieve this decentralization and the permissionless connectivity.
That's super cool. And we just talked about the first signal being sent from your own satellite, CTC0. Can you tell us again about the exciting use case that you see coming for users like us?
So we are targeting 3 different use cases. The first one is 2.6 unconnected population around the globe. There are 2.6 billion people who has no internet connectivity whatsoever. By providing this decentralized satellite network around the globe, we are aiming to connect them, bringing them online. The value of this impact is, the way to think about it is, imagine yourself living in a developed world, losing the internet connection. Your productivity will be probably one out of hundreds of your current productivity. Imagine the reverse happening to the 2.6 billion. This will be immensely productive, helpful for the whole, not just the unconnected population themselves, but also the whole globe. The second market that we're going after is non-virtual private network, if I may, and that is essentially connecting point A from point B without going to a third party such as ISPs or telcos. By doing so, we can get you a direct line from point A to point B, meaning that nobody else outside knows who you're connected to or what kind of message you're exchanging. And this dedicated connection allows you to say you want to make a private message between point A to point B, and there can be a trading message or there can be a private message. Also, because by having a dedicated line, your message will travel faster without getting throttled by the network congestion. That is what we are enabling with Space Network. And the last segment that we're now going after is the growing space industry. People are projecting that we will be launching tens of thousands of satellites every year. And they're mostly LEO satellite, low Earth orbit satellites, meaning that due to physics, they have to go around the globe. Because of that, you only get to talk to your satellite that you spend, let's say, $1 million to launch a couple minutes a day. But by making your satellite compatible to our network, you can not only connect to your satellite 24/7, but also serve as a relay node within the network when we're not using the capacity and make money.
That's super exciting future that we're launching into. And we know that there's like a SpaceX collaboration there. How did that first start coming into place, and how has that collaboration been?
A couple of years ago, SpaceX started to do rideshare programs, meaning that not you have to buy the whole rocket, but you're sharing slots with multiple satellite operators. Thanks to this opening, we were able to launch one satellite instead of buying the whole rocket, which made it economically feasible for a smaller company like us to iterate the technology and launch satellites. We have launched our first satellite, CTC0, with SpaceX December last year. Coming soon, November, we are launching 3 more satellites, CTC1s, with SpaceX again.
That's super exciting. And then we were talking a bit of you're combining space leads with hardware, with like a Web3 crypto. They're evolving super quickly and then also developing at a very different speed. How do you combine all of these different elements together? How do you structure that work?
So software innovation happens more fast because the iteration is cycle with basically you changing online, committing to a server, and then voila, you a new version of your software. Hardware is slower because you have to deal with atoms, not digits, right? Yeah. And space is even harder because you're not only dealing with atoms, but you also have to launch your satellite in space to finally confirm that technology is working or not. The typical cycle for satellite technology is around 3 to 5 years. And we are basically living in a 3 different timeline. Space timeline, which is 3 to 5 years per iteration. Hardware timeline of the telecommunications, which is usually a year. And crypto timeline, which is happening every day.
Yeah.
So We are, me in between these three different engineering groups, I'm trying really hard help them meet in the middle and then achieve this integrated technology, which is SpaceCoin.
That's super exciting. I feel like we're living in sci-fi right now. And thank you so much for spending time with us. Have a great show at Token 2049.